I was out walking the dog one crisp afternoon. My dog Baxter was trotting ahead, nose to the ground, tail wagging with uncontainable excitement. It was a normal day until it wasn't. At some point I realized I was walking in circles. The trees started looking familiar. The oak tree with the strange knot, the cluster of birches leaning at odd angles. I passed them again and again. My footsteps slowed to a shuffle. I called out for Baxter, who had darted ahead, but his usual yappy bark didn't return. Panic prickled my skin as I shouted his name louder, my voice swallowed by the woods. Hours passed. My phone, which should have been my lifeline, displayed no service. The sun's descent brought with it a biting chill, and the woods transformed into scary, evil shadows. Dread settled heavy in my chest as I realized the day had slipped through my fingers, the light gone far too quickly, and I was stuck alone in the woods. When darkness fell completely, I stumbled upon a hollow tree. It was massive, with an opening just wide enough for me to squeeze through. Exhaustion forced me inside, my body trembling as I curled into a ball. The damp smell hit my nose and almost took my breath away. The interior was cramped and unwelcoming, but it was shelter. The first sound came just as I began to drift off, a faint, rhythmic tapping. My pulse quickened. Tap, tap, tap. The noise sounded very close. I held my breath, ears straining. The tapping grew louder, like something was knocking from inside the tree. Then came the sound of breathing, ragged, wet, and far too close. I turned my head slowly, heart thundering, and saw a figure in the dark. The headless silhouette swayed unnaturally, shoulders heaving as if inhaling through a non-existent nose. Its hands, long and clawed, scraped against the wood, creating the rhythmic tapping that had haunted me. The space grew tighter as it came closer, and I could feel something was right beside me. A gurgle erupted from the void where its head should have been. Oh crap, I thought as I started crawling and clawing my way out of the hollow. I ran blindly into the night, my screams swallowed by the forest. I didn't stop until my legs buckled beneath me. The second day blurred by in a haze of fear and exhaustion. My throat was raw from calling for Baxter, my feet blistered and bleeding from stumbling through the underbrush. As the sun dipped below the horizon again, I saw something that shouldn't have been there. I rubbed my eyes just to make sure I was really seeing what I was seeing. A stairway. It rose from the forest floor and looked completely out of place. Its wooden steps gleamed as if freshly polished. Laughter echoed around me, children's laughter, a sound so out of place it scared the living daylights out of me. "Come play with us," a small voice called. I turned to see figures darting up and down the stairs, giggling and having fun. They were translucent, their features blurry, like smudged glass. Their eyes were dark voids that seemed to pull at me. Compelled, I stepped onto the first stair. Instantly, the world shifted. The stairs vanished, the laughter replaced by deep growls and the wet squelching of unseen things. I was no longer in the woods, but a dark, pulsing landscape that seemed alive. The ground beneath my feet was slimy, and the air reeked of rot. I almost hurled. Shapes moved in the gloom, grotesque creatures with elongated limbs and too many teeth. Their bodies glistened with slime, and their eyes gleamed with hunger. One lunged at me, its arms stretching unnaturally as it shrieked. I stumbled back, swinging wildly with a branch I had snatched from the ground. The impact was useless. The branch dissolved in its viscous body. Desperation drove me to run, dodging claws and fangs. The creatures were the scariest things I have ever seen, their shrill cries echoing in my ears. My lungs burned, and just when I thought I couldn't go on, I tripped and fell through darkness. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the woods. Everything was so quiet, but the silence was no comfort. It was the quiet of a predator stalking its prey. Survival became my only thought. The woods were alive, shifting and twisting to trap me. I scavenged what I could, berries that might not kill me, water collected from leaves. Each night there were new terrors, shadows that moved on their own, whispering voices that called my name. eyes that gleamed from the underbrush, always watching but never revealing themselves fully. The third night, I built a crude shelter, huddling beneath it as the temperature plummeted. Sleep was impossible. The sound of slow footsteps circled me. Sometimes they stopped and I could feel the weight of a gaze, something standing just beyond the reach of my makeshift fire. On the fourth day, I found Baxter, or what was left of him. His collar was draped over a pile of bones, the bright red tag standing out against the pale remains. Something had torn him apart, and the realization broke me. I screamed until my throat gave out, the forest swallowing my grief. That night, I didn't light a fire. I sat in the dark, clutching a sharpened stick, knowing it would do little to protect me. The forest pulsed with life as if it found delight in my suffering. The night grew colder, and I swore I could see the headless man watching from the trees, his figure barely visible but unmistakable. By the fifth day, I felt so empty and lost. I no longer called for help. I knew no one would hear me. The endless loop of the woods continued, the same trees mocking me as I passed them again and again. And then I saw a break in the trees, a sliver of light, unnatural and wrong, but a way out. Summoning the last of my strength, I ran toward it, the forest seeming to fight me every step of the way. Branches clawed at my skin, roots tripped me, and unseen hands pulled at my clothes. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. When I burst through the light, the forest was gone. I was standing on the side of a road, cars rushing past me. The normalcy was almost unreal. A couple stopped to help me. I sank into the back seat of the car and let out a raw cry. I turned and looked back at the woods. The trees stood still and silent, yet I could feel it watching me, waiting. I knew then that I hadn't truly escaped. The forest had let me go, for now. And somewhere deep within its twisted heart, the headless man waits, tapping, tapping, tapping,